everybody. How we doing?
You so low energy. and late.
It was
One
late.
of these days I'm going to go like that. And you say, hey, everybody, welcome to How to Be a Texan. I'm Kyle Kirkpatrick. I did 5 triathlons this week.
Well, we're talking about infrastructure today, Kevin. How excited can I get?
Whoa.
Infrastructure.
You gotta play it up to make it interesting.
No, it's infrastructure.
I don't know.
What does that even mean?
I don't know.
Like
What are we-
sewers, right?
Yeah, sewers.
Roads.
That's all I know about.
Roads.
I know that they got
Yeah.
a clown in there.
Bridges.
Levees, dams,
Levees.
Whoa, watch your language.
air
You
traffic
were cussing
controller.
in the dog episode too. I don't appreciate that.
Yeah, drinking water.
So what are you trying to say? This is not a sexy issue?
It's the
issue
opposite.
Of infrastructure is not the sexiest issue in the
Oh,
world.
Bernie Sanders.
Bernie's
leader.
right. Bernie nailed it.
It's not.
I think
Poor
I'm going to get
Bernie.
behind Bernie now.
Oh, yeah?
No.
Yeah, you should.
We appreciate very much Maggie the cow for being here.
See, he supports farming and everything.
No, when you think of so infrastructure, in my mind, it's probably the most boring topic we could possibly pick up. But when we say how to be a Texan, you have to understand Texas has a lot of stuff running behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
We drive along roads, we drink the water, we go through airports.
Right.
We
I actually had a water boil the other day
Had
at
a-
my house in Denton.
a water broil.
Boil.
What does that mean?
Water boil alert thing.
What does that mean?
It means that pond water got cross-contaminated with the water distribution system. And they put out a warning saying, don't drink the water.
Okay,
Really? And didn't?
Yeah, this past weekend.
I didn't know that.
And my house was in like the area.
Wow.
Did you boil your water?
Nah, I mean, I only drink reverse osmosis water that I get from work. So
Oh, so you don't drink the local water anyway.
Yeah,
You only
okay.
drink reverse osmosis water.
yeah, that I get from work.
That alone's a
Golly.
topic.
That's a millennial statement.
That is so millennial.
Hey, I work in coffee, so it's readily available, and I got this guzzler here.
Yeah, you do.
64 ounces.
How does that even work? I understand osmosis. I don't understand reverse. Is that like a double?
According to my
sucking sound going.
There's a giant sucking sound.
according to my aquatic science teacher in high school, reverse osmosis doesn't exist. But
Okay, that's
I don't
not
know.
true.
That's just what
That's not
that's just
true.
what it's called.
But how does it work? Explain it.
I don't know exactly how it works.
No, well, it sucks all the minerals out of the water,
And then puts it back in.
and then it puts just the right amount of minerals back in to optimize the flavor. And
That-
so,
I don't think that's all reverse osmosis though.
that sounds like malarkey.
That's like the mineral edition of what our system is at the coffee shop.
but what I'm saying is that's what you're talking about. You're talking about water that has been through that system, and the reverse osmosis takes the minerals out, I believe.
Oh, okay.
And then minerals are mixed back in. And all coffee shops have that, or all legit coffee shops have that. In fact, there was an article on the web, I don't know, a couple years ago that said if you go into Starbucks, don't buy water there, just get a cup of water, because they have amazing filtration systems, and
wow.
just their standard water is amazing.
So
why pay money when you can get amazing water for free?
my tap water that goes in through my Folgers, that's not good
That's
enough?
horrible. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we use that tap water here.
I
but-
got a giant jug and I transport water for my coffee.
Well, so I rely on the infrastructure of Texas to supply my water to my Folgers.
of Argyle, Texas.
Okay.
And it's intermingled with your septic system, so you should always be on a boil alert.
Well, you know what? That's a good point. That although we have, so think about it. How many infrastructure entities do we tap into? And the answer is at least 3 that I know of. One is the state of Texas. 2 is the county that we're in, which is Denton County. 3 is the municipality, which is Argyle, the town of Argyle. And so for all of our Texas listeners out there, there are always going to be at least 3 entities for the most part, unless you live truly out in the sticks. And then you may only have 2 if you're outside city limits. Then you'll have the county and the state of Texas that really provides for your infrastructure needs.
But what about the infrastructure for the power grid? Who does that? Is that the state?
Well, then you have a fourth, and you've got the feds. So you get the feds and the state that work together to regulate the power grid. Plus, it went privatized, I don't know, 25 years ago. So you've got private, public, and it's a public partnership between Texas and the U.S. government, right? And that's for the power grid. Does that make sense?
So the government's controlling everything.
Oh my gosh, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. Does the government make you make every choice you make? No.
No.
See, then it doesn't control.
But they have
everything.
control over us. They could shut off all of our infrastructure.
You're not like a Terminator where they can like reprogram you to do stuff.
I mean, why do you think they got fluoride in the water? They're brainwashing us. They're
So
capping our mental abilities.
You know what,
stupid.
Andrew? The biggest part of the conspiracy theory, and this is true, and Kyle will remember this, when we were kids, they would bring fluoride into our classroom at school like once or twice a year. Do you remember that, Kyle?
No.
Oh, we did it in Arlington.
No,
They would give us a little cup of fluoride, and we'd have to drink the fluoride.
No, we would
How
swig
weird
it.
is that?
We would
That's
swig it at
freaky stuff.
the dentist, and the dentist would make us like swig it and spit it out.
So so the dentists are in cahoots with the government.
You're an anti-dentite, aren't you? You're a rabid anti-dentite.
so back to
Pretty soon you'll be saying they should have their own schools.
They do have their own schools.
See? You're a rabid anti-dentite.
yet another Seinfeld
All right.
episode.
Oh, good. I'm glad you
Counter.
picked up on that.
I did because we've already talked about that one. Thank you. You guys are on Pete and repeat now. So,
True. Yeah.
okay, so the whole idea of infrastructure I thought was pretty interesting that we talk about that for just a bit. There's a great article, and it's really not Texas specific, but it is from Business Insider, and it really gives us a grade on a lot of our major infrastructure across America. And let me just highlight that real quick. So, what do you think our grade is right now on air traffic control? And I'm saying A through F.
Air traffic control?
Air traffic control.
Oh, probably an A, don't you think?
No, it's D.
D on air traffic control?
No, because we've got overworked workers. We've got antiquated IT in there. We've got no spending on it at all, or not nearly enough, and nobody wants to spend money on air traffic control, even though it's terribly important. But it's a D across the country.
I mean, we have two of the largest airports in the world here, Dallas and Houston.
I'm talking about across America.
Oh, I thought you meant in Texas.
And you're an IT guy. It's like a DOS-based 1968 program that controls all of our air traffic.
Okay, that makes sense. The technology, yeah.
Yeah, it's not like, this new whatever, cloud-based, whatever, totally AI cool thing, right? Mm-hmm. Big data, infrastructure.
I don't think I would want air traffic control to be AI.
Oh.
I think I want a human looking at this stuff right now.
Well, you got it.
I don't think AI is to the point where we can just turn that over to...
We should turn it over to the computers.
You're freaking me out.
Okay, back to infrastructure. Bridges. What do you think our grade is on bridges across America?
Across America?
America.
Maybe a D.
C plus.
C plus.
C plus. Drinking water. What do you think that is?
A?
No, it's
Really?
the opposite of that. Take Andrew's example in. It's a D. At least a D.
Seriously?
You know the susceptibility of our water systems across America? I could go put whatever into our drinking water right now if I wanted to. The safety and security of that drinking supply is very suspect.
But but compared to... So we're a D. That means that there are other countries that are like A's and B's,
I'm
or
sure.
is everybody bad?
I'm sure Switzerland's like an A. I don't know that. I'm just saying. Switzerland seems
to do a lot of things.
they're like
good
legit.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, because they have 10 people in the whole country, so it's easy.
But they're
They
beautiful.
just all drink from one Brita filter.
Yeah.
But they're beautiful. Those
Yeah?
are some beautiful people over there.
Okay, that's a weird thing to say.
Have you ever seen a Swiss person?
No.
I don't care what sex they are. They're beautiful people.
Okay. Hitler.
Swiss. Hey,
Whoa.
some beautiful people over in Swiss.
That's
So
how
there
the
you go.
Aryan nation started.
I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying every Swiss person I've ever seen is a highly attractive person. So then you get
That's true. I bet there's no like fat Swiss people. Do you think?
Oh, there's not a single fat person in all of Europe. I'll tell you that.
In the UK, there is.
That's not
Okay.
true.
There's some pudgy people in the UK.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
it's all that bread and gravy. They only eat bread and gravy there.
Okay,
So.
next category of infrastructure is energy. How do you think we score across America on energy?
I have all the energy I need, and I pay out the
Well, this
butt
report
for it.
This report says we're a D plus because we've got antiquated infrastructure and all the stuff that has been in place for 30, 40, 50 years.
Okay, so let me understand.
Cable, all
I
the
see.
wiring, all
Okay.
the.
So
you know,
what this article is focusing on is not the outcome, but more the
current state
of the technology.
of the technology that's out there.
Because the outcome is fine. I have plenty of electricity. I don't have any issue. It never goes out.
That's
It
right.
goes out once every 2
So-
years.
It may go out with this storm.
But this is more about the technology that they're using is very antiquated.
Yeah, I would say that for most of this, all of these categories are in the D and C grade on this Business Insider report.
So we need to upgrade our technology across the board.
Because the rationale for infrastructure across America is don't fix it if it ain't broke. Only fix it if it's broke. And that's the railways, the water supplies, the energy, infrastructure, et cetera. Only fix it if it's broke. Don't reinvest in it so that we can renew it. And so let me ask you a question. If you were going to spend $1,000 on caring for a neonatal infant, or you were going to rebuild a bridge with that $1,000, which would you spend money on?
Well, the infant, of course.
Or,
It's a
okay,
no-brainer.
let's go this way. If you were going to spend money between the neonatal infant, the life of that neonatal infant, or the fifth grade education of a young child in whatever, San Antonio, what would you spend that money on? Or
I'd find money to do both.
you'd find money to do both.
Right.
And that's what Texas does.
Yeah.
And that's what most of our state governments do. They find about a quarter of their budget to be able to spend on education, and they generally spend half or more on health care. And that's what we're doing. With our Medicaid program, we're spending half or more, and generally a lot more than half, on Medicaid.
Yeah.
And so then the question is, what always gets thrown to the bottom of the kind of the caste system and spending? And it's always going to be potholes, bridges, new wiring for our electric poles. That's always going to go to the bottom, right? And so Bernie's quote is right, that it's not sexy. There's nothing sexy about infrastructure, but it's something that is very, very important. So
Such a weird term to use.
Okay. Intriguing, exciting, something that shows a positive return on investment. It's one of these things where you've got, like, for example, I'm a hospital administrator. The worst, you want to spend money on growth, sections where I can say I can grow and I can have a return on investment for those dollars spent versus I'm going to spend this money to replace this bed tower that's already working just fine. I'm going to spend $140 million to replace this bed tower.
Yeah.
I mean, what a waste.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's
you
not
have
a
to
waste
do
because
it.
long term you know that you need to do it.
Well,
right?
yeah, but it's
not
a
a
hard,
waste,
it's
but
a
it's
hard
hard
decision.
decision. Yeah.
It's a very, very hard decision. So some of the other categories, hazardous waste, we got a D plus. Inland waterways, we got a D. Levees, Katrina alone showed us that we fail on levees. I mean, with Lake Pontchartrain crashing into New Orleans, that showed us that we stink on levees. Now, no offense to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, they do everything they can across the nation with limited resources and engineers. But these are ancient levees. Parks and Recreation, we got a D plus. Ports, we got a C plus, and that's probably because we have such a liability with our ports. Rail, we got a B, and I think that's because it's a public-private deal. Roads, D. Schools, D plus. Solid waste, C plus. Transit, D minus, and wastewater, D plus.
So who gets A's? Is it like the newer cities, like maybe Dubai? Dubai should have A's across all this,
I would
right?
think
because
so.
it's such a new, modern city and
Yeah.
everything's brand new. So
I would think so.
our stuff was built back after World War II, or
Yeah,
I mean,
during the New Deal.
Yeah, the New Deal.
Yeah, the New Deal. It said, hey, let's go build all this crap.
That's what kind of pulled us out of the Depression.
That's right.
then-
Highways were created during World War II as like a or was it? What war were highways sort of like? Did those start?
A lot of the infrastructure started. Well, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, to get
As like bomb threat
troops,
evacuation.
yeah,
right?
and
Or
also to
something
get
like that?
stuff across the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
think you're right.
I believe you're right. I believe
Interstate highways.
all this
Yeah.
goes back to the New Deal.
Yeah. So that was what
FDR
almost 100 years ago at this
implemented in the late 40s, early 50s.
point. Yeah.
And it was to restart the American economy.
I mean, that's before you were born. That's a long time.
That's
ago.
before I was born. Back in 1948.
Yeah.
That was before I was
You're
born.
really old.
Yeah.
Like you were born in 1969.
I was born in 69. So that's, 20-something years after the New Deal came around.
It's really old.
I feel old. So
This is where you say, Kevin, you're born 1 year later, and I did a triathlon today. So,
well, I did.
come on, man. I'm just giving you softballs here, man. You're just not.
I'm just saying I did. Now, there was another report that came out on infrastructurereportcard.org.
Gosh, that sounds like such an exciting website.
And I looked at Andrew as I said that. And our Texas 2017 report gave Texas a C- overall.
This is GPA, 2017 report card GPA. That sounds serious.
That sounds serious. So we got a C-.
Yeah.
Whatever. And it just says that we spend kind of the required minimum. And, and so there's a little bit more about
Well, it says that we're the largest continental state, right?
that. Right?
And we got a huge economy, one of the biggest in the U.S. Our population grows by 100 people every day.
Every second, it seems like.
Yeah, how
Yeah.
crazy is that?
Yeah.
So the population is exploding, and at the same time, we've got massive amounts of just land. I
Right.
mean, everything is so spread out, and everything just continues to sprawl, right?
Yeah. So
And so we're adding new infrastructure to support new neighborhoods and new developments, right?
Right.
When the old stuff is kind of crumbling, as Bernie Sanders would say.
that's right.
Yeah.
So I spent
Bizarre.
I spent a lot of time over the last 3 days, and I know you think I'm a nerd, but that's okay. I looked at and I read. There's a 332-page document that was the 2018 Texas basically set of financial reports for how Texas did. And so, again, I'm a healthcare guy, and I look at
What
companies.
website was that? Boringfinancialreports.org?
Yes, yes, and I'm looking at Andrew, and that's the correct citation.
Cureforinsomnia.com.
So 332-page PDF on the basically 2018 financial statements for the state of Texas and all the accompanying notes. And I went through all the accompanying notes. There was an interesting $91 billion reclassification last year alone. $91 billion reclass.
What does that mean?
Basically, it was because of the accounting laws. They reclassed a certain amount of money from prior years so that it would accommodate the accounting change, the gap change. Again, I'm not a CPA, but it was amazing.
what
It
that
was a
means.
humongous reclassification. So it made a real blip on the financials.
So they can go back and just cook the books, basically?
Basically.
Can't do that.
Can't do that. As Jimmy Ferris would say. You can't do that.
Ferris, yeah, no, that's,
Wait a minute.
that's a throwback. So anyway, in my review of all of our financial records for the state, if you think about the state of Texas, there are sources and uses. So we have sources of revenue that come in, and then we have a whole bunch of uses for those revenues, right? All these expenses.
Yeah.
And we just talked about two of the major uses. So we're really three. Infrastructure is the one that nobody wants to spend on, and they all say they agree this is the most boring thing ever that I could spend money on. Number two is healthcare. I'm going to help that little NICU baby live, or I'm going to help that fifth grader in San Antonio go to school. So it's always going to be healthcare, Medicaid. It's also and all the related
Healthcare education should,
healthcare and education. Those are
you
always going
have
to be
to have
the
both of
top
those
two.
to
And then-
function.
and then you've got the required others of we've got to keep the government running, And so there's only kind of
Why? Shut it down.
Yeah,
Shut that government down.
Believe it or not, there's billions of dollars that we have to spend every year just on keeping the government of the state of Texas running.
Yeah. No, I'm kidding about that.
And it's $7-8 billion just to keep those people, the governor and everybody else employed and running and all those committees and all that. Now, when you get into that 332-page report, you realize how many different kind of subsidiaries that roll up all these funds of higher education and healthcare and transportation department and Medicaid and blah, blah, blah. It just keeps going. That's how it got to be 332 pages, because it was a roll up of all these agencies so that the Texas State Comptroller has to track daily and pull all those financials together. It was actually quite interesting. I know it sounds terrible, but it was quite interesting.
Sounds terrible.
So, last summer...
It's like a real snoozer.
So Governor Abbott signed this $250 billion budget into law for 2020. Mm-hmm. But the interesting thing is we've only got about $110 billion of revenue that comes into the state of Texas. Out of that $110 billion, we talked about two of the major uses. The rest of it, you have to figure out, okay, well, what else do I spend it on? Well, you've got corrections, the penal system that are the state. That would be Huntsville and all the others. You've got public assistance. You've got K through 12 education. You've got higher education. You've got transportation, which is transportation alone is about 9%. And then everything else left over, which is about 12%, is sent off to all these infrastructure needs. Isn't that amazing? So out of $110 billion worth of general revenue that we have coming into the state, we got about 12% of that we have discretion on, that we can spend on levees, wastewater, airports, etc. So in my mind, there is a collaboration between, and we get a ton of federal funds that come in. For Medicaid, we get a lot of matching funds and all this. But it says to me that there's got to be a partnership, and there is a partnership between the federal government, the state, the counties, and the local municipalities, and then the next X factor, which is private companies, the privatization of whatever. And so you think of DFW Airport, well, that's really a private corporation, right?
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's one of the biggest airports in the world.
It's a private corporation?
Yeah. I think so.
Oh.
Fact checker, check me on this. But so that's the beauty of it, is that we have these private initiatives, the tollways, for example. So we have all these transportation problems, and people come up with solutions that serve a capital purpose of it's a profit-making venture, and I'm going to build a multi-billion-dollar tollway throughout Texas. We've got a ton in North Texas. We've got a ton down in Houston. There's none really in San Antonio, but there's a few over in Austin. But those are going to be more and more where you're going to have the toll tag option on private roads, so that you can bypass the public roads and pay for expediency, right? So that's what I think. I think there's a whole opportunity between public-private partnerships that allow our infrastructure to go, and then we may even privatize airports. We may privatize, levee whatever, or electric whatever.
I don't know, man. I don't know if privatization is the right way to go. I mean, I know this is not a political podcast, so I don't want to get into that. But
I don't either. But if we as a government refuse to say there's multiple billions of dollars to improve the infrastructure that's necessary, then why wouldn't you think about privatizing?
What's our current government doing?
Now, Donald Trump, not too surprisingly, has come up with some vague idea.
I will build a great, great wall.
That's our infrastructure plan.
Oh, my gosh. Okay.
I don't know. Okay, so what does the head of marketing at Metamucil and the head of infrastructure at AT&T have in common?
I don't know.
Think about those two. Head of marketing at Metamucil is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Head of infrastructure at AT&T. Right? What do they have in common?
I don't know.
They're both in charge of fiber optics.
Oh my gosh!
Get it, marketing.
Have you been thinking about that joke for a long time?
No, I'm searching for infrastructure jokes at this point. Literally, I'm Googling infrastructure humor.
Oh my gosh!
There's actually a whole page of infrastructure jokes out here on the web.
Oh, that's so great.
There's one that's too long to read. It's about the infrastructure of, like hell and Satan and everything. It's bizarre,
okay. No.
Not that good. It's like really long though. Anyway.
Well, no, the interesting gap is, and I'm not trying to say that everything's going to get privatized, but the interesting fact is that because Texas, the state, has such limited funds to spend on new bridges, new roads, new
Why do
whatever.
we have limited funds? We have one of the biggest economies. My taxes are annoying every year. Where's all the money going?
Well, but think about the income sources for the state of Texas. We don't have a state income tax. That's one of the beauties of the state of Texas. You come live here, you're not going to get an income tax like you would in California.
But you know what?
No.
Here's what I've found is they get us on property taxes.
They get, but again,
so
that,
property taxes in California are lower than they are here.
That's the Robin Hood thing, though, because the state of Texas is not going to get it, but Denton County and the city of Argyle are, because they're going to increase, and that's where the dumping happens. The state of Texas is not. It's not going to spend the money that's necessary for those roads, those road repairs. They're going to dump that problem downhill to the county or the municipality, and therefore they're going to get you with land taxes and increase those land. So their revenues are going to have to grow. These revenues are static. We've got all the sin taxes. We've got all the revenue through tourism and, and cigarette smoking.
Like when they pave the roads here, like they're paving roads all the time in Argyle.
Right.
Are you saying the state pays for that?
No.
No.
No, I'm saying
that's the local.
Well, it depends on who owns the road. FM 407, that's a state road. 377, that's a state road. 114 and 35, 35 is a federal road.
Right.
So that's a federal expense. But everything else is either a city road or a county road. And so it depends on kind of who owns the road or who owns the bridge, and that's who's got to pay for it. And somehow they got to get that money from either you or me on city taxes or county taxes, or they've got to raise it through sin taxes or tourist taxes through the state, because they don't tax our income like most states do. Mm-hmm. And that's how they get us. That's how they raise those revenues.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
I'm not a fan of state income tax, though. I would not want to see that happen.
No. I'm not either. But they're going to get it one way or the other.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening. And the other thing that I ran across is all the kind of the foregone monies. And I'm one of these guys. I have an ag exemption. And so there's $3 billion annually that the state of Texas foregoes by giving up these ag exemptions. And I'm fortunate enough to be part of that. I mean, I pay half of what I would based on this ag exemption that I've got because having cows.
Yeah, but you should, right?
No, I know. I'm saying I qualify. I meet the letter of the law.
Yeah.
And there are foregone dollars that the state could get in tax money from people like you and me because of exemptions.
This is where it turns into a philosophical discussion, right? Because, you could say that they're missing out on their money, and then the other side will say, well, that's not their money anyway, it's mine.
That's right.
To begin
that's
with.
Right.
And that's where it gets all
political.
muckety.
And,
yeah,
that's right.
This episode is brought to you by the Libertarian Party. Privatize everything and taxation is theft.
No, that's not it. And Kevin, as you know, I'm not a terribly political guy at all. But I am
nuclear power plants.
But I am
George Bush.
I am a financial guy.
What is the infrastructure of our nuclear power plants?
Nuclear power plants.
Well, those are federally mandated, and so all of our federal taxes go to cover all of our military.
Do we have an F in those, or a D, or a C? Or,
I don't know.
It wasn't on the list, was it?
No, it wasn't. Because
see, that's scary. They're hiding that from us.
No, if we went and looked at U.S. infrastructure, then I'm sure there's a report card on that.
Because I thought that's what we started with, U.S. infrastructure.
Well, I'm talking federal.
Oh, I see.
This is a state report
state
card
infrastructure
across the U.S. of what we're responsible for at the state level. That's where it gets really tricky.
Gotcha.
Because you got all these levels. You got the feds, the states, the counties, and the municipalities, and then what's been delved over to the private. So it is so complex
and expensive.
It's very expensive.
There's probably a lot of room for, optimization.
Right. There's a huge opportunity there.
Yeah.
But right now, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's the mentality.
Yeah, but
of
I'm saying
what
from a budget perspective, there's probably a lot of room for optimization, right?
Right.
This kind of assumes that everything is optimized, and then therefore we need, we don't have enough funds. I don't know. Seems like there's a lot of. I know that there's fraud, waste, and abuse. The biggest point it's in government and healthcare.
Oh, I agree.
That's where a lot of the money goes.
Yeah, so we could still say that as the state of Texas, we're still spending $10 to $20 billion on our infrastructure per year, and that's grossly not enough. And so I think your point is $20 billion in infrastructure, that should be enough.
But also, if you remember, like during the Obama administration, right, when we had the major financial collapse,
right,
they passed a New Deal style infrastructure
they
rebuilding.
Did. Yeah, 2 years in a row.
Bill.
Yeah, they did. 2 years in a row with an infusion of cash to generate jobs.
Yeah, and who got those jobs?
I don't know.
No, because what they didn't take into account is our economy is completely different than it was during the New Deal era.
That's right.
And what happened with that money is a lot of that went to contractors, big, corporate contractors,
right,
who got gigantic contracts.
Right.
It didn't go to jobs.
No.
So anyway,
that would be a good autopsy just to understand what happened during those versus the New Deal. Because the idea, I remember that. I remember the hope was it was very New Deal-ish, and it was going to generate this massive surge of jobs.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way. Our economy is not like that anymore.
No, it's a capital-based economy.
Yeah.
But I do think that's a really good point, though, is the efficiency of the dollars spent. And the question is, can government, and I'm not a political guy, can government spend $20 billion on infrastructure the best and most appropriate and most efficient way to get the biggest bang for the buck? And I think that's the question. We're seeing all these toll roads go in, and yeah, we dog cuss paying whatever, $2 to go from across North Dallas. But it's well worth my time and my money to spend that money to get across versus spending 2 hours. On 635. So I'm saying the privatization of some things and so I'm not libertarian or privatization focused or whatever. I'm just saying I think your point is right that if we're going to spend $10-20 billion, there may be a better way to spend it.
Yeah. If
we get kind of smart minds that are business oriented around there to spend it the best we can to improve our levees and our drinking water, our air traffic controllers, et cetera. I think there's an opportunity there because it looks like, from the report cards that I've seen is we're at the D level.
The air traffic control thing is crazy, man. You know how many planes are in the air at any given time?
Well,
thousands.
I don't know this is fact, but I think it's still the most stressful job out there.
Oh, yeah.
Air traffic controller.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
And
big time.
If you put some of that, maybe not AI, but some improved software that tracks via GPS and all this other, you would think that it's got to be huge improvements over what was built in whatever 1970.
You would hope, but based on that
so.
Scorecard, it sounds like it's not.
I don't think so.
Sounds like they're still booting up,
Yeah, some DOS based something.
Yeah. TRS-80 from Commodore.
Yeah.
Or the first Apple.
One of Perot's original EDS deals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but thousands of planes are in the sky at all times. And imagine trying to control that. I mean, it's just mind-boggling.
It stresses me out even to think about it.
And you would think that technology would just be, so advanced.
If we don't have people crashing all the time, then don't fix it.
That's why I said the outcome, though, is okay.
Yeah, we're good. I've got power in my house right now. Yeah. I can fly to Houston tomorrow if I wanted to.
Planes rarely ever crash.
Yeah, that's right.
But man, what a stressful job.
Yeah, so infrastructure, there you go.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
How do you like that? Wasn't this an amazing episode?
Amazing.
Wasn't this amazing?
We need to end this now.
Wasn't this just fantastic?
I got to get out of here quick.
Terribly intriguing for you, Andrew?
Okay, why did the chicken cross the road?
I don't know.
Because Americans' aging infrastructure doesn't adequately provide footbridges or pedestrian underpasses.
All right, wrap it up, guys.
That's so great. Bernie would like that one.
Infrastructure humor here for you.
Yeah, Bernie would like that one. That's a good one. All right. Well, hey, thank you all for listening to our ramblings on infrastructure. I know it was, extremely exciting for you to listen
This
to.
is amazing. Look us up on iTunes, Spreaker, Google Play. Give us a review.
Yeah.
Be nice on this one.
Or not. Slam us. It's okay. All right. See you later.
Adios.
Yep.
Bye.